Yo, what's going on? It's your main man, Rick the Dawn. Hey, hey, what's going on, y'all? I hope you're here to talk about some Survivor. The episode went off about 30 minutes ago, and today we're gonna just talk about. I got a lot to talk about here. I got a lot to talk about here. First off, has anybody seen Cassidy? Cassidy, where is she? Oh my gosh. Let's just start this off, right? Who is playing the best low profile game? And maybe I'll preference that by saying who's playing the overall best game right now. In the comment section, let loose. Who's playing the best game? All right. So as you know, we do a little bit of both. We do a little bit of a recap and a little bit of discussion. And certainly a lot of questions are coming your way. So be ready. If you were here at 9:30, 9:34, 9:45, what have you, 30 minutes or so after the show aired, you would be here with me right now because I live stream these episodes so that we can have live conversations. But you're not here. And that's my fault. I was a little, I was trying to do some things. All right, here we go. So Janine is shocked by Blindside. Should she be? All right, when we come back from Tribal Council, we see that Janine is absolutely just shocked by the Ellie eviction. Should she be though? She knew exactly who she was playing with, or did she? Did she not understand that Ellie was a player who was twisting a lot of knobs, stabbing a lot of backs? Was Ellie a good player? Was Janine surprised? I mean, for crying out loud, Janine and Ellie went through Gabler's bag. So it was funny to see, or I should say funny, I would say it was really surprising to see that Janine was so caught off guard and dare I say shocked by the fact that Ellie was no longer in the game. But anyway, Noelle tells Janine to act like Ellie's exit is okay. Um, Good advice. And of course, Janine absolutely takes that advice. She immediately goes around and lets everyone know, hey, there's no hard feelings about the whole Ellie thing. She even says something that surprised me, which was her exit could actually be good for my game. What did you think about the quick reversal of role by Janine? Did you think that was a shady play? Did you think that play was necessary? But anyway, Janine follows Noelle's advice, calling the move good for her game. Owen confides in Dwight about possibly cutting Gabler. So this was a very surprising moment in the game where we have two, in my opinion, two strong players. At least that's what I thought. Owen and Dwight, they start discussing possibly getting rid of Gabler because Gabler is a old school player and certainly someone who's growing on me. What do you think about Gabler? Has he grown on you yet? Has he become someone that you admire in the game? I tell you, he's certainly grown on me. He's a player that I did not see as someone I could possibly like. But every episode, they're giving him that good old fashioned hero edit, and it's working for me. But anyway, Owen and Dwight have this conversation after seeing Gabler running to the seafront or the seaside. And I'm not even sure what Gabler's doing. Like I said, he's an old school player. He's in tune with nature. It looks like he's chasing some kind of fish or something. I don't know what Gabler's doing, if I can be honest with you. But that conversation does happen. Baca came to the merge 5 strong. What happened? What happened to Baca? Why did Baca so quickly and easily dissemble? Um, Man, we saw a lot of fractures in that alliance, and it certainly showed and reared its ugly head at the merge. We see Janine went home from Baca. So that was really, really surprising. Are you surprised by the disintegration of Baca? I mean, think about it. They had 5 players. All they had to do was keep things together. Not sure exactly what went wrong or how it's gone this far bad. But if you think about it, Baca has some of the strongest players. They had Owen, they had Sammy. Now we see how strong Gabler is. They had Gabler, they had Janine, who was very covert under the rug, low key. And then of course you had Ellie. If they would have weaponized Ellie, I should say, if Ellie would have allowed herself to be weaponized, this could have been a strong 5. I mean, I believe that 5 can take out just about anybody in the game. But as you know, that doesn't happen. All right. Gabriel plans to go covert. And this was an interesting moment in this episode where Gabler points out that, he kind of admits that he's playing a really strong game, doing some things that might draw some attention to him. But he makes the statement that he plans to go underwater or covert and then pop out like it's a surprise. And the question becomes, do you think it's too late for that? Is Gabler already out of the water? Has everyone already caught on to who Gabler is as a player? Can he still go covert at this particular point in the game? Big question right there. Immunity challenge requires picking a partner. This was interesting. So we get to the immunity challenge and we see that Jeff has another wrinkle to throw at this game. After 43 seasons, still has new wrinkles to play in the game. I thought that was pretty interesting. But in this immunity challenge, even though it is for individual immunity, we see that in this challenge you had to have a partner. And the question becomes, who would you have selected as your partner? Now, this particular dynamic threw the group for a loophole because they didn't really want to come out and say, hey, I want to team up with this person or team up with that person. So they eventually decided to go to rocks. Who are you picking for this challenge is the question. If you did not have to go to rocks, for me, believe it or not, I said Gabler. And I didn't want to change it after I saw the results, but I chose Gabler. I thought that Gabler would underperform in this challenge, and as such, between the two of us, I would outshine Gabler. That's what I was thinking in terms of my philosophy and picking Gabler. But we saw what happened. Anyway, the new immunity necklace is revealed during this episode, and I have to ask, what do you think? It looks like it could be some type of monkey skull. I'm surprised. I wonder if it's synthetic. Is it real? Is it synthetic? Is Jeff not worried about the cancel culture, the animal rights groups? I'm not sure, but that's what it came across as. And I'll be honest with you, I thought it was a really good design. Being an artist, I really appreciated the really cool composition and the fact that the skull is right in the center. It had a very symmetrical design. I liked it, if I could be honest with you. What did you think about the new immunity necklace? All right, the comp's first legs is brutal. Now, this was a crazy comp. It took place in 3 different parts, and I have to tell you, that first part was brutal, okay? I didn't really expect this, but you had to unknot yourself, if that makes sense. And the only way to do this was by rolling counterclockwise or something crazy like that. And this was very, very brutal. Counterclockwise or something crazy like that. And this was very, very brutal. This particular challenge caused great troubles for 2 contestants that I can recall. And those 2 contestants were Carla and Noelle. We know why Noelle might have had some issues. As you know, she's still, showing that warrior fight, but she also has a handicap. And as far as Carla, she did make a lot of notes about her hair being tangled, and I think that might have been what it was. Her hair being such a long hairstyle, she got kind of tangled up. But anyway, Janine and Noelle get stuck in net. Noelle breaks down. Any thoughts on Noelle's apology to Sammy? So as you know, as she breaks down, she does throw a apology to Sammy as to say, hey, I'm sorry that I ruined this for you. And even towards the end of the end of the challenge, she does point out that if it was just her by herself, it wouldn't have been so bad. But because she quote unquote ruined the chances for Sammy, I think that is what really bothered her and why she offered Sammy that apology. Are you okay with that apology? Do you think Sammy doesn't really deserve that much, or do you think that was a stand up thing to do with regards to Noelle? But anyway, soon we go to round 2, and this round is as intense as the first. But 4 players emerge from round 2, and those players are Cody, Dwight, Owen, and Gabler. Wow. Now listen to that top 4 or that winning 4. Dwight, Owen, Cody, Gabler. Of those 4, who do you think was going to win this competition? If you didn't see that episode, I'll tell you right now, I did not see the winner being who the winner was. If you told me to guess, I would have maybe said Cody, but that is not what took place. And what about Cody? Has Cody not earned your respect to some extent? Has he not made a full swing around? Again, the first episode, in my opinion, painted Cody as a villain. And what I'm starting to see now is Cody has way more layers than the whole Ellie villain, layer. Has a lot more going on. So he's making his swing around for me. I'm starting to like him a little more and more each episode. Not fully converted though. Cody still has this mean streak that I can't ignore. All right. But anyway, finally, round 3 happens, and this is a strength and endurance challenge. You have to hold a rope, which is holding a bucket. And yeah, that is as grueling as it sounds. Okay, that was a definite grueling challenge. Okay, I was tired just watching it, and we know based on what Jeff was saying during the competition that the longest that this competition had ever gone in Survivor history was 25 minutes. And let me tell you, they smoked that record. Okay, so anyway, going back to the competition, Dwight is the first player to fall out. Yikes, right? Not good. Dwight goes out first. Owen drops second. And then finally, it's between Cody and Gabler. Cody and Gabler battle it out. Now, this was an interesting battle. If you haven't seen it, wow, wasn't it intense, right? Gabler draws inspiration from several different things, one of them being war heroes. We saw that quite a bit from Gabler, just pulling from the passion in his heart, and dedicating certain rounds to war heroes. He dedicated one round to Noel. He dedicated one round to his dog. He dedicated a round to Idaho, to Alaska, to Navy SEAL buddies. I mean, the list goes on and on. But the competition between Cody and Gabler was absolutely amazing. It was great to see Gabler dig so deep, being that he's 50 plus, and of course, I love to see Cody compete. And at one point, I'm not sure how I felt about this, but once they passed the 25-minute mark, I see Cody grip the wheel grip with one hand. And that might just be what caused the issue for Cody as he drops out third, which means that, yes, Gabler is the winner or was the winner of tonight's amenity challenge. How about that? A 50-plus-year-old dusting off all these young, scrappers, just showing out. And I think that says a lot about military training and just being in that particular field and space. It's just a different type of grit that drives you. But anyway, Gabler highlights military trauma and PTSD in a nice segment that I thought that was tastefully done. After Gabler has won the competition, we get to find out more about his background. We see some young photos. Doesn't even look like him, in my opinion. We see him talk about the trauma and PTSD that he experiences on his job. And let me know, how did you feel? Did you get tear jerked up? Did you want to cry about it? I didn't necessarily cry, but I was definitely engaged. I was definitely trying to understand his point of view, which I'm often trying to do when it comes to people. But anyway, Sammy knows that everyone can be voted out this time. Once they return back to the island, you realize that, wow, and Sammy brings this up, that, the last tribal council, there were only 6 players eligible to be voted out. But in this case, we saw that, yes, everyone was eligible to be voted out of the game. And as you know, my man Sammy was one of the first people to note that. And just for the record, just for the sake of argument, just in case you have no idea who I am, how I do this, my 2 picks right now to win the game are Owen and Sammy. So to hear Sammy say that lets me know he's ready, he's paying attention, he's active. Anyway, Jesse and Ryan draw the most attention, at least initially. And this was mainly because Jesse, which is a surprise to me. I did not think that people was catching on to Jesse's social play. But at one point, I believe it was Noel who points out that Jesse and Ryan needed to go, and Jesse because of his social gameplay, and Ryan because of his physical gameplay. So that was cool to see that Jesse is finally getting some type of attention, because for so long I'm thinking to myself, does no one see this guy? This guy is standing out like a sore thumb. He's such a talented and intelligent player, but nobody seems to talk about Jesse. Well, they finally did. So that happens. James and company find a advantage in the water. Now, this was a crazy situation within the game. I could not quite understand why Survivor did this. But anyway, I believe it was Gia who lost the still a vote advantage. And as such, they put the advantage back into the game. But to my surprise, they put it in the most obvious place possible. They put it in the water well. And James is one of the first people to pull the lid back, even though he's standing there with, I think it was 2 other players. I forget who the players were. But because he's the first one to pull the lid back, for some reason, it just felt like it was his, despite those other 2 players being there. And of course, they played it like smooth customers. Like, hey, no, you go ahead and get it. I don't want the advantage. And apparently the advantage was a clue. It was more like a clue. Like, hey, there's an advantage under the shed. And James pretty much points out like, hey, so I'll go check it out after tribal council. I don't need it right now. I'm not really tripping about it. But then, of course, instinct kicks in, and he goes straight to the shelter, and he pulls this advantage out, and immediately you realize, oh, wow, okay, he did that. So I gotta ask you this, and I just gotta bring it out. Listen, did James make a mistake by going to get that advantage right away? Was that a move that you would have made in the game? I see it from both point of views. Number one, hey, look, there's an advantage there. I got to get it. You only play this game one time, and you got to take every chance you get. On the other side, by doing that, does it not make you a target, an instant target? And this was a tribal council when you had a lot of players trying to find reasons. You just, it was like, hey, we need a reason to vote someone out. And I tell you, James picked a terrible time, in my opinion, to get this advantage. I know it was an advantage. I know it was necessary, but it caused a ripple effect of paranoia. Anyway, Noel immediately makes a play for James. This pitch backfires as Jesse sees Noel as a threat. Cody pitches Dwight's name. Who's the bigger threat? James, Dwight, or Noel? Again, once James grabs this advantage, it creates a ripple effect of negative consequences, in my opinion, for James, because immediately after doing so, Noel right away goes and starts pitching the name of James because now he has a steal a vote advantage. And, look, James Dwight was pitching there, and then I believe it was Jesse who called out Noel. That was interesting to me as well. Jesse, again, a social threat, calls out Noel saying, hey, she's under the radar. How long do we allow her to go under the radar before we actually realize she's in the game? And I have to agree with you, Jesse. What I would have taken Noel out a while ago, and it's only because she is just destined to win this game. Can you imagine her story in the bottom three? It would be unbeatable. There's nothing anyone can say. Nothing anyone can say if Noel makes it to the final three. And I feel the same way vaguely about Gabler. I feel like Gabler and Noel are the two players that could easily win based off their stories alone. I mean, the PTSD, the over 50. I mean, Gabler has this thing wrapped up. The fact that he's won things, he's made big moves in the game. These are things that I believe that these players, I hope they are paying attention to, but I'm not sure they are. But anyway, James learns that he has the knowledge is power advantage. I'm not sure if I said still a vote or is it called that as well. But this particular advantage just means that if you are knowledgeable about another advantage in the game, you can ask that player and steal that advantage. So James tells people about this power. Come on now. Can you help me with this? Was it smart for James to go around and tell people about the advantage? There's two ways to look at this, obviously. By doing so, he creates what he would probably think is camaraderie. On the other side, he creates paranoia. So which one is more dangerous? Which one is more helpful? Which one is better for your game? To have comrades, theoretically speaking, because even the people that he told still were suspicious, i.e. Cody. They still didn't really trust him because, as Cody noted, he had an advantage. And he believed that James, or he knew that James knew about the advantage. And as such, easily, without problems, James could ask Cody for his advantage. So that happened. The tribe grows suspicious about James and transfers their idols. What about those survivor players? Look, Big Brother can learn a lot about these scavengers. These survivors are literally trying to survive. So immediately after knowing about James's advantage, they're swapping and trying to. I don't like that particular part about this game. I don't like the knowledge is power advantage because it doesn't work the way I think it should. If a player has an idol and then someone uses the knowledge is power advantage on that person who has the idol, just because they gave it to somebody else, they can't. The advantage doesn't work. I don't like that aspect. I feel like if that person is the owner and you know they're the owner, you ought to be able to steal that advantage based on your knowledge. I don't like that twist that they have. I feel like it was never meant to be this twist, but the last player who had it, he tried it. He did something that I forget who the players were specifically, but they did something, and I guess Survivor was like, hey, let's not intervene. Technically, he might be right. And they just stuck with it. I think they should have made a hard rule that once you identify the person who is the sole owner, the actual authentic and official owner, that ought to be enough to steal that particular advantage, but it is not. Anyway, Joelle gives her advantage to Owen. Janine gives her power to Dwight. Whoa. And I wonder how that works. With Janine giving her power to Dwight, how does that work? Does she get that power back? Not exactly sure how that works. But anyway, the vote eventually seems to boil down to James and Dwight. This was very surprising to me. And it seems like Noel, once again, skates under the radar. Is Noel going to win this game? Can you tell me right now? Is Noel going to win? Because it's pretty apparent. Even though she was a top 3 player to be considered for eviction and getting voted out, she just instantly evaporated once the tribal council started. It's crazy. Who's playing the best low profile game? Is it Cassidy, who I forget was in? I forgot that Cassidy was even in the game. I saw her maybe twice this episode, and she was doing just like this, just listening to conversations. I'm like, that's either brilliant gameplay or terrible gameplay. I am not quite sure yet. She's made it to the merge. All right, Janine, same thing. I mean, but Janine is actually getting her hands dirty. I can't tell you how many times I've seen Janine's face bruised and battered. Like Janine's out there grabbing war wounds. Same thing can be said about Noel. But at the same time with Noel, I would call her gameplay pretty low profile as well. She is out there getting her hands dirty, and she's really working hard. But man, she is, I don't know. I would argue bulletproof at this point. I would even argue that Carla, is playing a low profile game. I don't know if everyone sees her as dangerous and smart as Jessie, and I'm not sure why. I feel like Carla might even be a better player than Jessie, and we'll find out. Time will tell. But anyway, Carla compares the immunity challenge to the three-tiered competition. I thought this was a really good comparison. Once we get to tribal council, Jeff does ask about the challenge, the immunity challenge, and he talks to Carla. And Carla makes a great, analogy, just saying that the three-tiered immunity challenge is kind of like the three legs of the game. You start off like, it's pretty challenging, then you're coasting, and then you think you got it all figured out, but you got to hold on. I just really like that analogy, so I noted it. Noel talks about idol, has idols. I got to ask this question. Noel is talking about idols at tribal council, and I want to know how you feel about this. Have immunity idols lost their pizzazz? Are they no longer as exciting as they used to be? I feel like there's so many immunity challenges. I mean, immunity necklaces, so many idols, so many advantages. I'll be honest with you, I'm starting to lose count of these things. I never see anybody play them correctly. I always feel like people get voted out with them. We saw tonight, and I might just go ahead and spill the beans. Dwight gets voted out, and what did you think about that? It boiled down to James and Dwight ultimately, but surprisingly, James, Dwight, and Ryan got votes tonight. Wow. I mean, look, this is Survivor. You got to know the dynamics. You got to understand how this game flows. And James spilling the beans about his advantage just shows he doesn't really understand the game of Survivor. Look, I don't have to tell you what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. This game is interesting, and we'll leave it at that. Let's just say Survivor has not crossed the ponds that I believe Big Brother has crossed. Okay, I'm not going to go into detail, but I will say that I'm starting to feel like idols are a little silly. I'm not as on board with them as I was at one point. I believe that the nuance has worn off. What do you think about idols? Do you still see them as something the game needs? I'm not sure that I do. But that's it. I really wanted to recap it. I really wanted to discuss some things and just, get your feedback. I know you didn't catch this live, but feel free to drop a comment. I'll be watching the comments. I'll be sharing this video on various platforms and seeing what people say on those platforms. But your main man, Dwight, gets evicted. How do you feel about that? Are you upset about the fact that Dwight did not make it? Man, kind of sucks, right? I mean, but who's surprised? I'm not. I'm not surprised. He played a very timid game. I will also say, just for the record, I love the way that he exited the game. I thought he exited the game very classily, with a lot of class. I didn't think that he was vindictive, upset, angry in any way. And I'll be honest with you, that was refreshing to see. So, didn't win, didn't go far enough, but certainly I would argue that he represented himself pretty well on the show. Looking ahead, I did see some of the previews. It was some really cool stuff going on. We see a new 7-person alliance possibly forming. Janine is in the thick of things. What do you think happens next? Who goes home next? That is the question. We will find out next Wednesday because, as you know, I'll be right here like I am right now, recapping and discussing the show. I would hope that you'll be there for episode 8 or afterwards. And until then, I'll see you on the next one, yo. Peace. It's your main man, Rick the Dawn, signing out. So